Super job.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter, the search engine.
Super job, Spokane.
We made it.
We made it, and we have about, I don't like to start early.
Have a ride coming up in 15 minutes.
Oh, that's cool.
So we'll just sit out here and wait for about, it's going to be 6 minutes. Some people, do you have the sound up, the volume up on your end?
No.
Because I'm getting a little feedback.
Each day is a little different depending on the conversation.
I hear something, but it's not coming from my end.
It's not coming from your end. Okay, well, we'll make do. Could you,
what is that thing?
I don't know what that is. You sure there's nothing on? All your volumes are turned off or muted? Now you're frozen.
In there.
Okay. There. Well, we'll make do with it. I think there is some feedback. Can you go out and come back and request again?
Sure.
Maybe that'll do it.
All right, let me figure out how to do that.
Well, the same way you requested to join.
How do I get out?
Oh. Wait a minute. Now it seems. Just go out. Just close the thing. Just close. Yeah, there you go. I think that feedback might have been on his end because I'm not hearing it now. That's a shame. Oh. There we go. Okay. All right. Testing.
That seems better.
It does seem better. It's if you don't know how to fix something, just give it a knock.
Well, rebooting seems to be the way I always go, whether it be phone, computer, whatever.
Right.
If it doesn't go, and just shut it down and start it again.
Right. I don't know what your time frame is. I know you have a game this afternoon, but I have questions that could last an hour, if that's okay with you.
Oh, sure, an hour is quite reasonable.
And even longer if you're up to it. I don't know.
I would say maybe a max of 90 minutes. I'm just thinking.
Great.
That would get me out of here at 12:30 Pacific. It gives me an hour to make another pot of coffee and set up my game.
Right. And who do you got playing today?
That's a good question. Who do I have today? Kansas City at Washington.
Whoa.
Chuck Dobson and Phil Ortega on the mound.
The Kansas City Athletics at the expansion, Washington Senators.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll be there. And I say good afternoon to everybody. Time permitting, I will turn to the audience for questions in text. And if we run out of time, who knows? If we're all good, maybe I don't know if it'll be necessary if we run out of time, but if we do, maybe Steve will come back. I have 1 minute until airtime. Beautiful. You said you're not very tech savvy, but you managed to get this going.
It was pretty easy, actually.
Yeah. I have, just to let you know, 6, 9, 12, 15, about 18 questions. Some of them would maybe require more time than others, 20, 40, 60, 80. So we'll see how it goes. There's no pressure to answer quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jeffrey Guterman, and welcome to the Strat-O-Matic Network. And it's my pleasure this afternoon to have my second interviewee, the one and only Spokane Steve. And I'm an avid fan of Steve's channel and for Steve. And I thought that it would be a good idea to interview people to enhance our understanding and appreciation of Strat-O-Matic. I'm going to start off with Steve. First, I just want to say thank you for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah.
We're part of the mutual admiration club, I guess.
Okay. I'm going to start off very broad, just to let us know a bit about you. Because, there are times when I'm watching your games and I want to ask questions of you. I'm curious about you. Where were you born and raised? And what's your age? And is there anything else about your background you'd want us to know? Again, where you were born and raised, anything else about your background and your age?
All righty. Well, I'm 68 years old. I was born somewhere in LA County, 1956. I didn't grow up there, though. I grew up in Dana Point and Laguna Beach, which are in Orange County. It's both small coastal towns in Orange County. At least they were then. Obviously, they've grown a lot since those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lived there until, I got out of high school. I moved to Costa Mesa. Had an apartment there for a while, lived around there, lived in Grass Valley, California, Rough and Ready, Penn Valley, Grass Valley. For those who don't know where that is, that would be like halfway between Sacramento and Tahoe as the crow flies. Not really a direct route there. It's off of the Highway 49, which was the old Gold Rush Trail in California. It's an interesting road trip. If you're ever in that area, drive that. I recommend it. Lived there for a while, came back to Southern California for a short while. Then in 1989, moved to Spokane, Washington for good.
And you've been in Spokane, Washington for how long?
35 years now.
And what brought you there?
Oh, family. My mother's here. My two living sisters are here.
Yeah.
My aunt, who is younger than me, is here, and her husband. So what family I have left basically is here in Spokane.
You first heard of Strat-O-Matic. Finish that sentence.
Well, it was in one of those baseball magazines,
Yeah.
Street. There was Street and Smith's, which was a big one.
Right. I love Street and Smith's.
But there was a bunch of other knockoffs, right? You'd go into the liquor store, into the magazine rack, and there would be 10 or 12 of these things sometimes. At least a half a dozen preseason prognostications.
Right.
Talking about each team, whatnot. And I used to buy as many of those as I could.
Yeah.
I had a paper route, so I had a little bit of money for a kid, and
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
so I'd buy these things, and I saw this. Now, a friend of mine and I were playing the All-Star Baseball, which we've talked about before on our channels, the one with the
Right.
spinner, right?
Yeah.
It was fun, but not really very statistically realistic. So I saw this ad in the magazine, and we've all seen the ad. You put it up when you were talking to Dave the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I answered that ad, and that was the 1969 set. Kind of a funny story there because the 70 season had just ended. Okay, the 1970 season had just ended, and I ordered the game. And I was foolishly expecting to get the 1970 cards. I ordered the new game set. Well, the new game set at that time was still the 1969 set because I didn't realize that it takes them a while to make these cards. So when I first got the game and opened it up, I'm going, what the hell is this 1969 crap? I wanted the 1970 set. Of course, I found out that that's not going to be out for, another 4 months or what have you. Mm-hmm. There it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And what year? You say this was 1970?
This would have been 71, actually, because the 70 season had just completed.
Right. So it's
But
the
they didn't have the cards yet, so I got the 69 cards.
So it's the winter of 70/71, and you saw the ad, you mailed away, and you got the 1970 set.
Well, I got the 69 set. I
Oh,
thought I
I'm
was getting
sorry.
the 70 set, but it wasn't out yet.
Right, you got the 69 set.
See, I just stupidly assume the season's over, so they're going to have it, like that. Well, it doesn't work that way, of course. It takes them a while to make the cards, especially in those days.
Actually, I remember, and maybe my memory is faulty, but I remember that the new baseball sets came out sometime in December, believe it or not. And
I don't remember that. That's interesting, though.
Yeah, I could be wrong about it, but something just tells me that's when it was. So you were about, let's say, 15 years old, and you got the ad, you saw the ad, you got the game, and what was your initial reaction to the game?
I tell you, I loved it immediately.
Yeah.
And I took it to my friend's house, the one we were playing the All-Star baseball with.
Right.
And we played it. I think that first night we must have I spent the weekend there. I used to do that quite often. We'd go over to spend the weekend at my friend's house.
Right.
And we must have stayed up till 2 or 3 in the morning playing that thing.
Yeah. And
We just couldn't get enough of it.
Right. And you remember that set, you got the 69 sets. It was only basic, and it was also only basic in 1970. And now basic seems so passe, at least to me. I don't want to put down basic, but it's not like advanced and super advanced.
Yeah, no, some people still play it. I'm not interested in playing basic again.
Right. And it just doesn't make sense because of you just take a left-handed hitter who can't hit left-handed pitching will be able to hit left-handed pitching quite just like he would maybe combined left and right. Here's Mookie.
There he is.
Does Mookie have anything to add?
No, he just looks good.
Oh.
He doesn't say much. He just looks good.
Maybe I'll call him Pretty Boy Mookie.
You can, yeah. He would like that.
Yeah. Now Mookie,
he got a piece of me this morning. I don't know if you can see that or not.
No, he scratched you.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to.
That looks pretty serious.
He wanted my phone cord.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to give it up, so he got me instead of the cord.
Yeah. And again, I want to tell the people who are attending this interview that we'll look to your questions toward the end. Steve has agreed to be here for up to 90 minutes. We might or might not even need that time. So you learned of Strat-O-Matic. Was this your first tabletop baseball game? Other than All-Star baseball?
Yeah. Other than that was the next step.
And had you played any other sports games prior?
No.
No. Can you give me an idea, just a broad overview of any other tabletop or computerized sports games, sort of in a chronological order that you have played through the years?
Sure. I forgot about one. Actually, prior to that, I had that football game that you plugged in.
I was going to mention that.
And the players would hop and buzz around all over the field. It made a hell of a lot of noise, right? But it was kind of fun.
It didn't work.
As far as other games in baseball, I got Shortly after the Strat, I tried APBA. I bought one season of that, played it
Okay.
for a while. I
And
did not care.
what do you think about that?
I didn't care for it.
Why not?
Well, at the time, I don't know how they are now, but at the time, the pitchers there was only like 4 different pitcher cards. You were either an A, B, C, or a D pitcher. So the pitchers did not have individualized cards. Only the batters did.
That's really a weakness.
And that was the same with the All-Star baseball. It was all hitters cards. You put them in the thing and spun. Those
Yeah.
games were both problematic for me because I've always been a pitching guy. I grew up a pitching guy.
Yeah.
My very first ball game, my dad took me to see Sandy Koufax at Dodger Stadium. So that pretty much set, that was my, that made it.
How old were you?
I was destined to be a pitching guy. I was either 9 or 10, depending on what time of the season it was.
Right. And we should know you're from the Los Angeles area.
Well, Orange County, it was a bit of a drive.
Right. But you're
Not
still
as easy. You think, 47, 50 miles or whatever, that would be easy. It's not as easy as it sounds to travel from Orange County to Los Angeles. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, quite
there's a
frankly.
lot of traffic.
Yeah.
I don't know if the traffic was that bad back then, though.
Oh, it was.
It was.
They've got a lot more lanes now.
Yeah.
Back then it was a 6-lane freeway.
So you you tried APBA, didn't like it. And any other games that you tried?
It was one of the S games, okay? So it was either Sports Illustrated or
Status Pro.
Status Pro. It was one of those two.
Yes, Sports Illustrated had the color-coded tables.
I didn't play it long enough to even really get that familiar with that. Right after that, I picked up one called Extra Innings Baseball.
Okay.
And a friend of mine actually did a seasonal replay with that.
Oh.
And that was easy because it was an easy game to play, but again, to me, it didn't really measure up to Strat-O-Matic because it had things like, okay, let's say if you had any power at all, you rolled 3 dice. 1-1-1 was a home run for everybody, unless you didn't have a home run on the card. So in other words, the cards did not have the differentiation, the personality that the Strat-O-Matic card has.
Right.
The beauty of Strat-O-Matic is the guy may have the same percentage chance of hitting a home run, but his home runs are going to be in a different location on the card than, say, comparing player A to player B. He may have 10 home run chances. Player B may have 10 home run chances.
Right.
They're going to be located in a different spot in the cards, which gives each card, to me, its own personality.
Sure. That's true. And I don't know if you're aware, one year they deviated from that and made the placement of things like home runs, singles, uniform. So everyone had their, but there was such a backlash about it.
Yeah, I'll bet there was.
That they went back.
Do you know what year that was? Do you remember?
No, I don't. It's going to be, I'm going to guess it was at least in the 80s, if not later.
I'm sure I saw the card set and I just don't remember it, but
yeah.
Blame that on old age.
Any other games that you've played? We Status Pro or Sports Illustrated. You tried Extra Innings, played that enough to do a replay. Any other games?
I think that's it.
Okay. And as far as the computerized version of Strat-O-Matic, when did you get on board with that?
1994.
That's early.
I joined a league, a play-by-mail league at the time. It was run by John LaManna. Many people. Do you know?
The name sounds familiar.
He does a periodical called LaManna's Baseball Bulletin. He's probably not far from you. He lives in Goldenrod, Florida.
Goldenrod. I don't even know where that is.
I'm not sure. Well, if you don't, I sure don't.
Yeah.
but he's been doing this for years, and I used to buy his periodical.
Yeah.
Just like I used to buy this, when when I first found out about the Strat-O-Matic review, I bought that. And I found out about actually it was 1986. I found out about Lamana. I was at a card and dice tournament in San Diego, and he had given a bunch of these out to the tournament director to pass out free samples, right, to drum up subscriptions. Well, I subscribed right away. I loved the damn thing. I just ate it up.
Right.
And anyway, so in 92 thereabouts. See, I had a face-to-face league in Orange County that we played. When I moved to Spokane in '89, of course, we kind of all we went to the Winds, and that died. So for about 3 years there, I had no outlet for Strat-O-Matic. I used to play Bill James fantasy baseball on the Stats Inc. website. Now it's called Stats Inc. Fantasy Baseball because he made them take his name off of it after he went to work for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
But anyway, there was that, and then Lamana advertised they had an opening in their 20-team play-by-mail league. So I sent him a letter, and he accepted me. So I played 1 year with card and dice, and I realized out of 20 guys, everybody else had these computer-printed score sheets, and I'm going, where do you get these things?
Yeah.
They're all playing on the computer version. So the next year, I bought my first computer, bought the computer game.
And that was 94.
That was 94, yeah.
And have you been buying the updated sets every year on the computer?
On the computer, I have every card set from 1957 to present day.
Since we're on this, you're provoking me to think of new things to ask that I hadn't considered. How many card sets do you have?
In actual printed cards?
Printed form, yeah.
I have everything from 69 up to about 2000, 2001, and I'm guessing on the end date, somewhere in the early 2000s. See, I was buying the computer game and the cards. I wasn't using the cards. I was just buying them to have them. At a certain point, I just went, this is ridiculous. I don't need to pay for both. So I quit buying cards.
But have you gotten any recent years of cards?
Not since like 2002, maybe 2003.
Okay. And the 66 sets that you're doing broadcasts, when did you get that set?
Oh, I bought that just over a year ago.
Oh, so you did buy a new set. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought you had a more recent year set, like 2023, 2021. See, I have all those on the computer, but I don't have the physical cards.
Right. And so you wouldn't buy the recent sets.
No, I have no need.
I'm curious. I find your this was a question that was further up, but I guess this might be a good time to ask it. I find it's funny. You say that you're not politically savvy. I meant maybe that too, but you say that you are not tech savvy. But you seem, when I watch your broadcasts, and I've been watching them religiously lately, you seem to have a superb grasp of the statistics within your replay, which I'm very envious of. You're able to just rattle off batting average and all sorts of statistics, some even arcane. Can you describe to us, because there's some people here who may listen today and in the future, this will be saved. How do you do what? Can you describe your whole system and how you do it? I know it's a broad question.
Yeah, no, it almost requires a demonstrate. Actually, there is.
If you have a demonstration, and/or if you want to move the camera to show different parts.
Well, I have videos on my channel that show they're actually under a section called instructional, how to enter a card and dice game into the computer.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So what you do is, okay, my game's over. I launch that same game in the computer version under manual entry. And then you just manually enter each result. Dave does the same thing.
But do you do it after the game?
Yes, I do mine after the game.
Right. Right. And you enter every at bat.
Every at bat, just as if you were playing the game again. But it takes like less than 5 minutes.
Really?
Oh yeah, it took me 15 minutes when I first started doing it, but the more you do it, the faster you get it. I can enter them in less than 5 minutes now.
So you whip right through it.
Yeah, I know all the codes now.
Right. And you know, I have an iMac, and you know, like I said, I'm really envious of your system, and it makes me consider wanting to get maybe a laptop PC just so I could do this, just so I could do what you're.
Couldn't you do that on your computer you have?
Not well. I can't. You can't buy the computer sets through Strat-O-Matic because it's only PC. It's not iMac.
Oh right, it used to be. Did you know that?
It used to be amenable to it.
They used to have a Mac version. My first 3 or 4 sets. My first computer was a Mac, and I bought the Mac game.
Right.
So that was in '94. I would say around '98. I want to say they discontinued making the Mac version.
I wonder why that is.
They weren't selling enough, probably. I'm just guessing, but it's got to be bottom line, right? Everything is.
Well, but it's not like they were giving cards out. The only cost would be, I guess, labor.
They must not. I don't know. I'm assuming there wasn't enough of a demand for it for them to keep it going. That's the only thing to me that makes any sense.
Right. Right.
Well, I had to go out and buy a PC in order to keep playing in my leagues.
Well, there you go. And you know, I could get myself this day and age, you can get yourself a laptop PC for $500.
Even less in some cases.
Yeah, that would but would I have to purchase if I wanted to be inputting stats like you do for a season? Would I have to purchase that season?
Yes, on the computer, you'd have to buy the computer version of that season.
And how much is a season, roughly?
Boy, that's a good question. It's probably $50, $60 somewhere in there.
Okay, and you're telling me that
but for what you do, I'm sorry to interrupt, but for what you do, if you buy them both together in a bundle, you get a deal. Like you can buy the computer version and then add the cards for another, say, $20, $25, where it would cost you way more than that just to buy the cards. So if you're going to do it, it makes sense to buy them both together. That's why I continued to buy the cards long after I wasn't even using them anymore.
I'm going to think about this. I'm going to think about this to see if I want to do this.
And then you have your stat database.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't start out doing that. You know, I got about 100 games into my replay, give or take, and realized I'm not really happy with the few stats I'm keeping. I'm going to go back and enter all these games. It took me like 2 weeks to catch up, to enter all the games I'd already played.
So do you do what I do, or did you do what I still do, and that is I keep just select statistics?
That's what I was doing at first, and I thought, well, that'll be enough.
Right.
But I got into the season a little bit, and I'm going, no, this isn't going to be enough. This isn't going to satisfy me. So I had to change stream there.
Now, you are doing the 66 replay, and we have deviated. I have an outline here of all my questions. And I don't want to, you see, there's a whole bunch of questions I have here.
That's all right.
Yeah, but we're deviating a little bit. Tell me, what replays are you actively doing? Is there anything other than 66?
Yeah, there is. Actually, I'm doing a 1982 replay in the computer version.
Okay. And any others?
sometimes I'll screw around with a single team. Like I've been just dinking around off and on replaying the 23 Dodgers season. I'll autoplay all the other teams and then just play those games.
23 Dodgers.
The 2023.
Of this.
Yeah, the latest set. Yeah. So you can set one team to manual, the rest to autoplay. It'll play the other games in a minute.
Yeah, are you a Dodger fan?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you left home, but you're still a Dodger fan.
Most of Spokane is actually, interestingly enough.
Interesting. A lot of transplants.
I didn't think about that. No, you know what it is? This was their AAA team for many years.
Oh,
the Dodgers AAA affiliate was Spokane.
Okay.
So all the people my age and older followed that team when it was here. And that was the Dodgers of the 70s, basically. Lasorda, Garvey, Lopes, Russell Say, all those guys played in Spokane.
Right. Anybody out in the live text? Because I haven't seen a message in a while. If you are, just say hello.
Hello, everybody.
So you're doing. I'm familiar with your 1966 replay, and are you playing every game, card and dice? Thank you, demos.
Yes, in 1966.
Oh, you're playing every game, yeah.
And 1982, I'm playing every game, but that's on the computer.
Now I have a question here that you may have answered, and if you have nothing else to add to it, just let me know. But how did your play of Strat-O-Matic, if change through the decades, or did
How
it
did it change?
Yes. Has it changed?
What do you mean? I don't understand the question, I guess.
Yeah, I guess in any way, in terms of doing replays, draft leagues,
Sure.
one-off games.
I was never a replay guy at all.
Yeah.
I was all about the draft leagues. I almost never, for most of my life, I never played with stock teams. We always drafted teams.
And some people are heavily into draft. Hello, Rick, Kenyon, Mike, and Baseball Demos. And we'll be turning to the group for questions as we move along. Do you have any memories about Strat-O-Matic that you consider to be great memories and nostalgic? Maybe you don't. I do. And I've talked about them ad nauseum.
Well, yeah, going back to like when I was a kid, when I got that first set, actually it was after that, because shortly after I got the 69 set, of course, I ordered the 70 set. So it wasn't too far behind since I was on the tail end of, right. Yeah. So I got the 70 set, and I wasn't really that familiar with the players yet. My friend was much more familiar than I was, and we would just grab a team and play it. So I remember I grabbed the Minnesota Twins. I don't even remember which team he was managing. We get halfway through the
70 Twins, or
this was the 70 Twins.
Yeah, they won the division.
And yeah. And I forget who he had, but anyhow, we get halfway through the game. And I don't know why I remember this, but he says, "Why aren't you using Brant Elliott?" And I'm thinking, Brant Elliott? I don't even know who the hell that is. Well, he did. I do.
Grant with a G, Grant Elliott?
B with B as in boy. Brant Elliott, Alyea.
Oh, Brant Elliott. Brant Elliott. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing his last name.
Well, I don't know if I am either, but that's what he said. He knew all the players.
Right, and he was on the Washington Senators for a while.
Is that so?
I believe he was. He played for the Senators, Twins, A's, Cards. He died this year in February.
So my friend Mark, he knew the players much better than I did. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I probably should have been playing that card. I just put the lineup of the players whose names I knew together. It was very, very elementary.
I'd like to say hello to Perry and Cleveland baseball fan who also just arrived. But so the nostalgic memory for you again.
I just remember him saying, "Why aren't you using Brant Allier?" I know it's a weird thing to remember, but I've never forgotten that. Then we got two other guys involved, and we formed a four-person draft league, and we drafted 70 cards.
Yeah.
We got four other guys. So by the time the two-sided, then we redrafted when the 71 cards came out, because that was the first year of the advanced version.
The year based on 71.
Yes.
Yes.
That was the first two-sided set. So we now had 8 guys, and we threw everybody back into the pile. We did a scratch draft, and we're going to keep these players, every year. It's a keeper league. You can make trades. There'd be a rookie draft each year, and so on and so forth.
Right.
So we redrafted with that, and we kept that league together for a while. And 71, I don't remember where I picked in the draft. It wasn't the first pick. It was like the third or the fourth pick. I took Don Sutton with my first pick.
Well, you have said he's a favorite of yours.
Yes, exactly. It probably wasn't the best pick, but it was my favorite player, so of course I'm going to pick him first.
By the way, Cleveland baseball notes that the pronunciation is Brant Oyela or Yea or
Allier.
Allier. Okay, Allier or Olye. That does not roll off the tongue. So you picked Sutton.
Yeah. And of course, then the following year, 1972 cards come out. That was his best card of his career by far.
His 71 year?
72. I drafted him in 71, but remember, this is a keeper league. Okay?
Yeah, but I'm saying the first year of advance was based on the 71 season.
Yes.
Right.
So we drafted these teams, and then we played for a year. Then the 72 cards come out, so you're keeping the same players. There's a rookie draft, but you keep your core. I forget how many we kept, and you throw the rest back in. You protect 20 or something like that. Anyway,
that's interesting.
That was Sutton's best year of his career. So I was laughed at by a couple of the guys for taking him in the first round. And with Sutton in 72, I won the league. So I had to laugh.
Wow. That's a nice idea, is to, pick draft players that you're going to keep year to year. And I guess if they're hurt or if they retire, you're through. And
well, you got to get somebody else or make trades. Some years are lean years. You have to rebuild your roster, and some years you're stocked and you're going for it.
I belong to 2 play-by-mail leagues. One was football, but the baseball was rather well known. It was run by a Jeff Downey. I don't know if Jeff Fleischman from Downey, California. Guzmo. I don't know if you remember that. It was cited in the Strat-O-Matic review, and it just looked like the home team won like 80% of the time. Okay. It didn't seem very reliable to me. When did you subscribe to the Strat-O-Matic review? Do you have a basic idea?
It would have been pretty early on.
Its first issue was March 71.
It would have been around that time, not too long after. I was going to say 71 or 72, probably.
And how long did you keep that up?
Let's see. I got that through high school. I graduated in 74. I think I stopped after either they stopped or I stopped after that.
Okay, they stopped it, believe it or not, in 1991. They went for 20 years.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, and you know that there's an archive on the Strat-O-Matic website with every issue.
I'll have to check that out. That's pretty cool.
It's not easy to find, so you can find it easily by just putting in Strat-O-Matic review, and you'll find it. What is the strangest or oddest experience you ever had in relation to Strat-O-Matic?
The strangest or oddest?
Yes.
I don't really know how to answer that one.
Philip, hold on to your
Like,
questions.
maybe give me an example, and that'll give me an idea.
Well, I don't know if you heard about the mischief that I pulled. Uh,
I'm vaguely familiar.
yeah, so maybe along those lines, or you know, anything at all.
I can't think of anything that was strange or odd.
Okay, okay, okay. This part is some people might find interesting. Do you have a least favorite aspect of Strat-O-Matic? Is there something about the game you love the game, you obviously, but is there anything that you would change and or that you do not like about the way the game is?
Well, I don't think I would change anything. I I do think the 50-50 pitcher batter split is somewhat flawed, to be sure.
Yeah,
But
and that's, if you can keep your train of thought, that's a good point. And just like you have to have an end power to hit a home run off the pitcher's card, you might have to have if you have a certain rating, you wouldn't strike out on a pitcher's card.
partly that.
So a Glenn Beckert wouldn't strike out twice in a game because he hit it on the pitcher's card. That's an
Let me
idea to fix
let me
that.
let me phrase that a different way, okay? If you're playing like all-star teams, you're not playing stock teams. You put an all-star lineup against any pitching card, the hitting is going to win out.
Well, unless you disproportionately fall on the pitcher's card.
Right. In the short run, the pitcher can win out, but in the long run, a pitcher's card against a stacked lineup of all-star hitters, the hitting will prevail.
You think so?
Oh, it's absolutely a fact. It's not a question of me thinking so.
Yeah, I guess it's because all it takes is a home run, or a bunch of hits. Even though there might have been some outs, all the hits will add up.
Yeah.
That is a
You can go, like I play the 365 online game. Their set is called All Time Greats, and that's a great example of it. You have different salary caps you can play at. At the lower salary caps, the pitching becomes a little bit more effective. But if you're playing at the higher salary caps, your average team ERA is going to be about 5.5. It doesn't
right,
matter. You can use the best pitchers in history, and it's still going to be 5.5.
right. So the 50-50 split is one thing that is your least favorite. Is there anything else about the game that you don't find to be that you would like changed?
In the past, I would have said customer service, but honestly, I have to give credit where credit is due. I think they've come a long way in that regard, especially considering what a shoestring operation the Strat-O-Matic company is.
Right. Right, I agree with you, and I don't think badly at all of the customer service. Really, the game, I can't talk about the computer game, and that's where you may run into problems when there's glitches and so forth. But I have found Strat-O-Matic, as far as card and dice. Why do you need any customer service? You know, it works. The game works, and it's
Right.
you know. Uh, so but I guess people are maybe a lot of the people who complain about it are referring to the computer uh, help. Is there, is
Yeah.
there is there any other aspect of Strat-O-Matic? If Harold Richmond came up to you and said you could change something, uh, what about what we do you not like, and we'll try to fix it?
Well, I wouldn't change anything.
You wouldn't change anything.
I wouldn't even change the 50-50 because you'd have to completely overhaul the game. I love the game the way it is. I recognize the 50-50 is kind of a slight statistical flaw, but it's close enough. I can live with it.
Yeah, it's a common criticism, and they rectified the 50-50 problem for home runs for weak hitters with the home run N versus W. And again, I think that something could be done to make strikeouts require a certain rating, but I don't know what else. What are your favorite things?
Well, for example, you could have a batter who didn't have a triple all year. He gets a triple off the pitcher's card, right?
That's interesting. You mentioned that. And that happens.
I just had that yesterday or the day before. In the last couple of days, that happened.
Yeah, and you could have your own rule, and that is if they had no triples, give them a double. But it doesn't happen that often because triples are rare to begin with.
I tell you, Jeff, for me, the more rules I have, the more likely I'm going to screw up. That's the way I look at it.
That brings me to a question.
Where did you go?
I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep, I can now.
Yeah, I get robocalls. What rule? What sort? You have an interesting synthesis of rules that you use. I say synthesis because you're. I'm back again. Calls. Can you hear me?
I can now. Yeah.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I apologize. And it may happen again. You have your own unique combination of rules that you follow. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay. I'm playing advanced, but I use super advanced stealing and base running.
And base running.
And the main reason I do that is just as a governor on myself, because if I just had to steal double A, B, I would be stealing way too much because I tend to do that. So
or not stealing enough.
Pardon?
Or you would be. I found that you didn't have enough steal opportunities because if you steal, if you hold an A, let alone a B, it's not a very good chance.
Oh, interesting. Well, I found just the opposite. I used to steal like crazy with the A.
Yeah, but I forgot what it is because it's been so long since I played it. It's really the basic form of the game.
Right, it is.
I think it's -2 for an A on the hold.
Oh, geez, I don't even remember now.
Yeah, so
I'd have to look it up.
So
I can tell you this: when I played double A, my double A stealers would consistently get over 100 steals a year, all of them.
Really, and I really like super advanced stealing. But so again, you play advanced, not super advanced, with the addition of stealing and what else?
The base running and runner advance.
Well, but what aspect of super advanced is that?
Well, I was just doing advanced, but I didn't like in advanced, you've got a runner at second base, less than 2 out, ground ball to the right side, he doesn't move up. That's just not realistic. So you've got to go super advanced to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with the base running is the super advanced cutoff rule. which makes you think about whether the trailer runner is going to advance or not.
Yeah. I got to tell you, this is a hobby, and the important thing is to have fun. When it becomes tedious, it's not fun anymore, and that's why I switched from super advanced X chart to advanced.
I can
Okay.
relate. My biggest issue with the super advanced X chart is I can't read the damn thing.
No.
My
Yeah.
eyes are just getting worse every year, and that chart is a color-coded nightmare to me. I can't read it.
Well, it's interesting. I don't have the chart with me. It's all blue. It's blue and white.
It's something about that shade of blue. It's just, for me, it's very hard to read.
Now,
Excuse me for 1 second. I've got to take a short break and use the restroom. I'll be back.
absolutely. I hope everything comes out all right. And we are in the midst of the interview. He's a very pleasant gentleman. I have 3 more questions. I want you all to get ready to start posting your questions, but not right away. And I'm going to use the bulk of the time. We've gone 45 minutes already. And hey, Mookie! Mookie! Mookie? We'll wait for Steve to get back. I didn't know bathroom breaks were allowed. I would have taken one myself.
All right.
I have 3 more questions, but before I ask it,
Just want to say hi to everybody in the chat. I'm trying to follow Jeff's question, so I see you there. Hello, everybody.
right, and folks, if you've asked questions, demos that I guess I could ask my questions while others do too. We're at the point now where we're going to turn to the group and have them post questions. Baseball Demos says, ask about his score sheet. Can you tell us the story of that?
Yeah.
And I'm jealous of it. I really.
I started the replay. You don't have a printer, do you? Do you have access to a printer?
I don't have a printer, but what I could do is if you offered to email it, and
Yeah.
if you emailed it to me, I could simply, go to Office Max and have a whole bunch knocked
I'll
out.
tell you what I'm going to do. It's easier for me. I'm putting my email address in the chat now.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants the PDF of this score sheet, send me an email.
I really want it.
Brief line that you want the score sheet, and I will send you the attachment.
That's very generous of you.
Well, one of the listeners gave it to me. I started the season using the B, and this guy says, I've got this score sheet you might like. It has room for 6 pitchers for each team. And I said,
right.
Well, could you send it, please? And he did. His name was Joel Anderson.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen him in the chat in a long time. And on the early stages of this replay, I used to see him quite a bit.
Are you doing that now, by the way? Are you putting your email in?
Yes, it's in there.
I don't see it. I don't see you have put that in.
Oh, what is it, blanking it out or something?
I don't see anything.
It says error, try again. Okay, I'll try again.
Sometimes it prevents links. Why don't you, what is it, Gmail?
MSN.com.
Then just give us your username. Just give us.
It's statman122@msn.com.
STATMAN 112.
122.
Oh, 122 at MSN. If you all got that.
Yeah, right, Cleveland. Apparently it doesn't. Did you see the second one? It looks like the second one came through.
No. But here, what I'm doing is showing you how you can do it.
I wonder if you could break it, if I broke it up.
You see? You see how mine went through? It's not clickable, but it shows you.
Yep. That's it anyway.
Okay, you got it. Okay,
to msn.com. Send me an email, say, send me your score sheet, and I'll reply back and send you one.
And I have sort of a do it now kind of philosophy in life. Some say, why put off today what you could put off yesterday? Actually, I've emailed you before because I'm request for score sheets.
I'm topping off my damn fine cup of coffee.
Okay, I just sent it to you. So, damn fine cup of coffee. Wow, that's great. Can you tell us about Demos asked about the score sheet? Do you know about its development? And can you just describe what's on the score sheet, what you like about it, the extras that it provides?
Basically, the only real difference is you have spaces for 6 pitchers per team. On the original, you've only got 3.
Is that all?
Oh, no, it also has more space for the fielding rating, and it's got another column for the running rating.
Fielding rating, running rating. It includes both the range and the rating.
No, it's just a longer space to write it in. It's a bigger
Write
column.
all of it in. Okay, that's great.
But that was courtesy of a listener on here, a viewer, Joel Anderson, who sent it to me.
Oh, is he here now?
No, I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
He was watching my games in the very early stages of the 66 replay, and he sent me that score sheet.
Right.
And I haven't seen him in months now.
I have a question. Did I not ask any questions that you think I should have or could have that some people would be interested?
I see Joel's here, Cleveland,
Yeah.
Philip, John, Perry, Kenyon. A lot of familiar faces here.
Absolutely. The whole gang is here. Is there anything I haven't asked that you think I should have asked?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. I'm drawing a blank.
No, that's quite all right. Here's one from Kenyon Gray. What inspired you, Steve, to do a full season replay rather than short series replays?
I would have to say you most of all, Jeffrey, and the other people on YouTube. I started watching Strat-O-Matic on YouTube and was amazed at the amount of people playing. All right. And what inspired me to think, I think I'd like to do that.
Okay, because I think I don't think that exactly. It's very interesting that you were motivated to broadcast your games. I don't think necessarily that's what Kenyon was asking. He's
Because
asking.
it seemed to me that if you were going to do something that people were going to watch,
Yeah,
that the full season replay would generate the most interest. Let's just say. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that's what I felt at the time.
Well, actually, that's an interesting idea. I think it was F. Scott Fitzgerald who said the ability to hold simultaneously conflicting ideas is a sign of genius.
I like that. Yeah.
Whenever I hear something, I'm very deconstructionist, so I'm always thinking of how to collapse an idea, and I would say you say replays would are more amenable uh, to broadcasting, but I think even a short series replay is actually in some ways could be more interesting to viewers because say I've done the 64 World Series, the 1911 World Series, when I did my 69 World Series and playoffs, those generated a lot of interest.
That's true. I remember your 64 series. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. I followed that adamantly.
Perry asks, Steve, is the way you keep score something you learned as a kid, or has it? I think he meant evolved.
Yeah, well, it has. I tell you,
Right.
when I first started doing it, I would write in the exact symbols from the Strat-O-Matic game as to what happened. In other words, single 2 stars, I would write S 2 stars in that box.
Right.
And then I would put the slash where the base runner was.
Right.
And then when I started playing tournaments, which was around 1985, I want to say 84, 85, I saw how everybody else was scoring. So I took bits and pieces from other players
Yeah.
until I found what I was comfortable with.
Right. And you have an interesting method of scoring. You use different colored pens.
Oh yeah,
What is
I
that?
I use the black blue pen for everything except I will use the red pen for hits, runs, and RBIs.
Right.
And the reason I started doing that I really don't even need to do that anymore. That was when I was keeping my own stats. That way,
Right.
when I'm entering my stats into the computer, I wouldn't miss any hits, runs, or RBIs, or be less likely to miss them, I should say. Mistakes are still going to happen, of course, but
Yeah, so there you go, Perry. I guess the answer is he developed his scoring as a kid, but it has evolved. And it has been a rather recent evolution, the last few years or
no, that pretty much took place in the 80s, the mid
okay, in
late
the 80s. That's
when I
good
was
to
playing.
know.
I played a lot of those star tournaments back then. Back then, it was called the TBA, the Table Baseball Association. They went all over the country. They still do, but it's not called TBA anymore. There was a big scandal involving that tournament director,
Was there?
and he's out. Yeah, he was embezzling money from the tournament basically instead of yeah
That's something I never did. I never
yeah.
did.
So
I have my own skeletons in my closet.
he got booted out, but there's a bunch of guys now still running what they call it the Star Tour. They have a website and all that. They still do these tournaments. I haven't played one since 2003, 2004, but in the 80s, I played in a lot of them.
Here's the question from John Wise, and let's not forget, I have two final questions for you that are not exactly related to Strat-O-Matic, but could help us understand you better. Uh, John asked, how do you keep track of season stats? Do you use the Strat-O-Matic computer version? And the short answer is yes, he
Yes.
does.
Yeah, we
And
covered that. In fact, John, if you go into my channel under instructional, there are 2 short videos showing how to enter a score sheet into the computer under the manual entry mode.
does anybody else have any questions? Here's the opportunity. Here's the opportunity. Just plug them in. We would appreciate it, folks. Any other questions? Well, I have a question. Are you a hipster?
I don't really know how to answer that. I'm not sure what a hipster is exactly.
It's a,
What is the definition of a hipster? And I'll tell you if I meet it or not.
yeah. Now, of course, I'm not into labels. And so I don't like to label person as, a bad person, a good person. We are people who sometimes act good, sometimes act bad. And of course, we should be held accountable for our actions. So I'm not into labels, but a hipster, and I'm not an expert on it. I'm not a hipster. But a hipster is somebody who is aligned with hipster culture. And hipster culture is a culture with specific and sometimes general uh, forms of fashion, hairstyle, and other interests.
Oh, I would say no then.
Okay, I just thought, with the hat.
I thought maybe a hipster meant an old hippie, which I'd say maybe. I suppose I could slide into that category in some ways. But
yeah, I think you might be just a tad young. Hipster is defined in the dictionary as a usually young person. Well, that would take you out.
yeah. That's it. You're out.
who is trendy, stylish, and or progressive in an unconventional way. Someone who is hip, and it does go back to the 50s and 60s, characterized by a particularly strong sense of alienation from most established social activities and relationships, like a beatnik. You remember the Beat Generation?
Sure.
Yeah. So, but you're not a hipster. I thought that was going to be a tremendous
I
question.
don't think so. I've been called eccentric. I'd say that's accurate.
I don't find you to be eccentric at all. Here's the question. Yeah, Joel makes a good point. Joel Horland, Steve is indeed hip in his own way. But I had this beautiful. I had this.
Thank you, Joe.
I had this wonderful fantasy of you being a hipster. It's like sometimes you'll see a guy interviewed on CNN or on the news, and for some reason he's in the middle of a news story, and this guy works for some computer company. He's got purple hair. He's got tattoos.
Yeah, no. When you said the style thing, I'm out right there. I'm pretty much 99% of the time I'm a jeans and t-shirt guy. So no, I don't follow style much.
Yeah, Perry points out you're not a hipster in my mind, but he is hip. Now, Mike C has a question. Did either of you buy the old timer set Strat used to sell in the 70s? Did you buy that set?
Oh, I used to have the Hall of Fame set.
Yeah,
Back, I forgot all about that. Does anybody remember that? Okay,
yes.
It came out
Yes.
in the 70s, and it had this two-sided card. It had the career average on one side and the player's best year on the other side.
Right.
Basic version only.
I got it too.
Yep. I forgot all about that. Thank you for bringing that up, Mike.
Now, the old timer set, Mike is
all about that set.
Yeah, isn't that something? How we can jog memories? Mike is referring though to the old timer set, and I did. That was the first set I bought. You don't remember it, Steve? It had the 27 Yankees, the 41 Yankees, the 53 Dodgers, the 54 Giants, the 48 Indians.
That does ring a bell.
Yeah, the 61 Yankees.
I have a vague memory of that.
Well, then you probably had it or played with it.
How many teams were in that? Anybody know?
I would just be guessing, but my guess is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 12. Here's a question from Baseball Demos. How did Jeff and Steve get into streaming games rather than play offline? How did each of us get into streaming games rather than play offline? My answer, I'll if it's okay, I'll answer it first.
Yeah.
Well, I started a 1964 replay, and then I courageously abandoned it because Strat-O-Matic then released the 69 sets, and that's what I really wanted. It was a re-release. They had run out on the printing, and I used to broadcast games on Twitter, now called X, and there wasn't much enthusiasm, not much interest. And then I started to look at YouTube, and I started from scratch, people. I had nobody in my circle, if you will, and it built up from there. And that was like, geez, about 5 years ago that I started. Now I play every game online. But I basically got the idea because I saw other people doing it, and I wanted to do it. How about you?
Exactly the same thing. When I first started following YouTube, I didn't realize how big YouTube was. I was using YouTube almost exclusively for live concert videos.
Right.
Okay, I'd watch a rock concert, play it through my speakers. It was
Right.
all about music. And then I started expanding out a little bit and watching some other things, travel videos. Anyhow, I stumbled on these Strat-O-Matic videos. That's how I found you, and baseball demos, Philip, a bunch of guys. I'm gonna leave somebody out because my
Oh,
mind's
everybody.
blank right now. But tons of guys
Everybody.
doing this.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away. First of all, I was blown away by the fact that there was that much interest in Strat-O-Matic. And
Right.
then I thought, man, this is something I would really like to try to do. And I thought, there's no way I'll be able to figure out how to do it from a technical point. And it took me a while to figure out how to get onto YouTube, but I eventually figured it out through trial and error.
Right. And it's pretty intuitive. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty simple.
It is actually. But the
Uh,
first part I couldn't get on because you can't broadcast directly from your YouTube app unless you have 1,000 or more subscribers. You have to get a third-party app. I didn't know that at the time, so I'm trying to go online. It's not letting me, and I couldn't figure out why.
so I didn't know that you could bypass that requirement with a third party app.
Yes,
And do you still use that third party app?
yes.
Because I want to tell you something that I think is significant. It doesn't happen anymore, but when I watched your games, obviously it was a feature of the app. It would superimpose the text, the live text, onto the screen. Did you
Yeah,
know? And
I
it
didn't.
did so in a way that did not interfere with play, and it's a great feature. I wish I could do that feature. And an example of that is when I would be reclining and watching your game on the big TV, which I do. I I could read the text. Do
Well,
you know about that?
I can read your text when I'm watching on the TV.
Really?
Yeah, that's a YouTube thing. That's nothing to do with my third-party app.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know
When
exactly how to change it. I took mine off because somebody complained that I didn't even notice it. Somebody complained that the text was blocking the score sheet or something like that. It was interfering with what they were trying to see. So I looked
Oh,
at
I
it.
don't find that at all.
And
Oh,
got it out of there.
but yours doesn't do that now, Steve.
Yeah, like I say, a couple of guys didn't like it because it was blocking
But
the.
how did you disable that?
I don't remember.
Because if I could enable that,
Yeah, this is again. You're asking the wrong guy. I just stumbled on
problem.
it.
Perry has a question. When you guys
No.
decided to, Perry has a question. Oh, here's Kenyon. First Kenyon, then Perry. Kenyon asks, "Do either of you have any ideas how to get younger people interested in playing Strat?"
Boy, I wish I did. I think this YouTube could be helpful in that direction.
Yes.
I think young people are probably tuned into YouTube. I can't say that for a fact, but it would seem like they're online all the time, so they might be.
Kenyon has an interesting question, which brings to mind that people who buy the card and dice. This might be a stretch for some people, but they tend to be middle aged and up.
Yeah.
Sure, you have people in their 20s, maybe even some who are younger, who play card and dice Strat-O-Matic. But I think the majority of them, and looking at the people who attend the opening ceremonies every February on video, they're all middle-aged or up.
Yeah.
And I think going back to Dave Little's point that he made in his video supporting Strat-O-Matic in response to ID Jester, a lot of younger people tend to want the fancy graphics.
Yeah.
And
I would
so,
say if Strat-O-Matic wanted to, if they took their computer game and enhanced the graphics, that might help to attract a younger audience.
but
They're
again,
trying to do that. That's why they invented Baseball Max. But I tried it on a free trial. I wasn't really impressed with Baseball Max.
yeah, I'm not interested in that either. I don't even know how reliable it is. I've heard of quirks. But again, you have an interesting question there, Kenyon. I say the best way to get people involved in something is to share it with them, to do it with them. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're on if you're trying to recruit any youngsters in particular. Perry,
I will tell you an interesting story regarding that. When I was playing the tournaments back in the 80s, there were guys bringing their sons to play in the tournaments.
right?
There were a couple of kids that were probably in the 8 to 10 years old range playing. And there are
Yes,
two, I know for a fact there are two of these guys that I played against when they were little kids and I was in my 30s. They're still playing these tournaments to this day. And they're
John.
just
Yeah,
tremendous.
John has an. That's true.
So
John has. Oh, go
teach
ahead.
your
I'm
kids
sorry.
teach your kids how to play. That's the best way to do it, I think.
Right, right. John says he started playing in middle school. I don't know when that was, John. How long ago was that? And you could ask the schools to do a free after school program or even at church groups. As far as the after school, I think that Strat-O-Matic started some sort of system from which to use Strat-O-Matic in the school curriculum. I forgot what it was called, after school, something like that.
That's an excellent idea,
Yeah.
John.
And Perry asks, when we decided to go live, did we practice before we did it? Did you practice at all?
I did do a practice game.
And you did it unlisted so that no one could see it, or you did it for everybody?
I did it. I didn't do it on YouTube at all. I recorded it as a video on my camera.
Okay.
And then I went back and watched it, and I thought it was just awful, of course, but
You do a good job now.
tried to learn from that.
Right. You do a very good job now, I think, with
Then I
your.
started that 74 Dodgers replay thinking, well, I'd only have to commit to 162 games that way. And I think I got about 30 games in or so. And that wasn't satisfying me either.
Right.
And I ordered the 66 set. I said, this isn't working. I need to do a full replay with all of the teams.
Right. Right. Any other questions?
Kenyon, you're absolutely right. I probably learned more math from Strat-O-Matic than I did in high school.
Well, I wasn't very good at math in high school, especially geometry.
Oh,
I'm not.
I
I'm.
hated
I'm
geometry.
not spatial. I have one last question.
70s.
Beatles or Rolling Stones?
Oh, man.
Beatles or Rolling Stones?
You know, most of my life I would have probably said Beatles, but today I'd probably say Rolling Stones.
Interesting.
And the reason for that is because the catalog is so much larger.
Oh, they are arguably the most prolific rock group ever.
See, I get bored, I get tired of songs very quickly. So
Yeah,
I have a low threshold for repetition. I have an iPod. It has over 28,000 songs on it.
right.
It has
Folks,
to have that many, and I'd like to have more, frankly, because I don't want to hear the same thing twice in a week, honestly, or even less than that if I can help it.
Perry says you have the right you gave the right answer. Uh,
Well,
now I
thank
seem to
you.
remember didn't you have some form of the name Jethro Tull in your username?
Oh, Aqualung, yeah.
Yeah, and you changed it?
Well, that's because, like I say, originally YouTube for me was strictly about music.
Yeah, so when you got more into doing Strat-O-Matic, you changed it to
I
Spokane
I
Steve.
changed the name because the Aqualung wouldn't make sense to anybody anymore unless they were familiar with the
Well,
band.
there's someone who people
But yeah,
from our generation
they're
know
my
them.
favorite band. They've been my favorite band since 1975.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Aqualung is an amazing song, isn't it?
It's a good song. There's a lot more to that band than Aqualung. I can
Oh, I
tell
know that. I
you.
know that. Sure. Look, folks, we cut through an hour and 15 minutes here. We have a few more minutes. If anyone has any more questions, now we've hit a high of 32 people in here right now, and we appreciate you. Thank you, Kenyon, for your questions. Thanks everybody for the questions they asked. And but there was a time when you liked the Beatles over the Stones,
Yeah,
right? Right. I love the Stones, but I'm Beatles. Uh, any last questions? What gold record is in the frame behind you? Kathy Harden asks.
that is Aqualung.
That is Aqualung, Kathy Harden,
Yeah,
and I'm not sure it's real gold.
it's plated.
Gold plated.
It is gold plated. Yeah,
And that is what is that? A form of memorabilia?
it's a collector's item, I guess. If you had to.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Any other final questions? We're winding down. Well, we hope you all enjoyed it. I'm going to go relax and try to stay out of trouble. I want to thank you, Spokane Steve, for your generosity of giving us your time.
Thank you
And
for having me.
I think that you brought up a lot. Thank you, Joel Horlin. I'm looking forward. I sent you the email. You might find that you're getting a lot of emails, but
That's fine. I'll respond to all of them.
yeah, just one at a time.
Thanks again, all you people, everybody here in the chat and more, for watching a couple old guys roll dice and play Strat-O-Matic baseball. It's a blast.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to just share this with you, Steve. I'm convinced, and I don't know if this makes any sense to you. Uh, I am absolutely convinced uh, that my almost my obsession with Stratomatic since the pandemic, when I reconnected to the game after not playing for decades, is due to an effort to get back to that nostalgic period in my life when I was, 14, 15 years old.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yes.
And it's not quite the same, but it's still, it's the best I could do. In any case,
Well,
I want to,
other than that period from late '89 until 1992, I've played Stratomatic consistently my entire life since from 1970 until now. Although again, the last 30 years or so, we're just strictly on the computer until this project. So for
the
me, when I
66.
first started doing these replays, I was not only learning to stream for the first time, I was relearning how to play card and dice and trying to figure out technical aspects of this. I can tell you, I remember it was very overwhelming. There was a lot of things to think about at once. I'm getting more and more comfortable with it as I go along, but I had been away from card and dice for almost 30 years.
So you mean you're getting more comfortable with card and dice?
Mm-hmm.
And card and dice, I think, in its own way, is more, would be more receptive to live broadcasts than the computer.
I've seen guys do the computer on YouTube.
David has a great question, and it's not too late, David. What made you gentlemen decide on using a dice tower? I'll let you get this first. I have a very specific answer.
They used them in the tournaments. That's where I first saw them. And when you're on camera, you have to control the area that the dice land on, right? I mean, you can't very well roll them on the table. They're going to roll out of frame. You have to contain that area so that the dice stay in the frame, and that seems the best way to do it. But I first saw Dice Tower in 1984 or 85 at the tournaments. They used them in that to prevent cheating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My reason for using the dice tower, I didn't use the dice tower even with my live broadcasts initially, and the constant motion. I'd never played hundreds of games like I started to after the pandemic. And this is not bullshit. The constant motion of rolling the dice led to me getting a terrible strain in my arm, and I had to use the dice tower. Now I use
motion strain. Yeah, I could see that.
And it's not carpal tunnel, but it's a carpal tunnel-esque type condition. And what I do is I roll the dice. I can either roll the dice together in my hands, or even go like this a little bit. But then I put it in my left hand, and I drop it down the. I just drop it down the tower.
Yeah,
And go ahead.
That's exactly what I do.
And good question, David.
Yeah.
I think it's also better for broadcasts because you can end up seeing the dice better when they land, because they're going to land in a very usually a discrete area rather than fly all over the place.
Perry
And
asked,
yes, Perry, go on Amazon.
Yeah.
And you'll see there's more towers there than because the gaming world uses towers a lot, and there's all types. You can get what I got, $14, or you can get right on up to probably over $100.
I agree with Joel's comment too. I like the sound of it. It adds a certain drama to the roll.
Oh, Joel made his own. And Rick says before the tower, he never thought he was getting a real random roll. I want to thank you again, Steve, for doing this. And I want to put out an invitation to anybody, even if you don't broadcast Strat-O-Matic, to do an interview. And if you have an iPhone and you're here and you play Strat-O-Matic, it's as easy as clicking on the link that I put in the live text just prior to the interview. It was pretty easy, wasn't it, Steve?
Easy peasy.
And so I put out an invitation to any of you. I think that people find interest in this. We'll close it out now. You have make your own videos on YouTube? Okay. Well, you have a good night, and I guess you have an hour before your game.
Yep.
Okay, we'll see you then.
All right. Thanks. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Keep on rolling, everybody.
Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for being here. I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm going to be at his game at 4:30. Steve's game, and just go. You can't miss it. Put in Spokane Steve, and you'll see his broadcast. My next broadcast is tomorrow, this evening at 6 p.m. It's my fourth installment, actually my fifth installment, no, my fourth, of Strat-O-Matic Review. And then I have a game at 1 o'clock on Saturday in my 1962 replay. And then I actually, in the 2021 replay, I was getting a little tired of putting together the teams with such large rosters, but I did it, and it was pretty easy this time. It'll be April 2 in my 2021 replay, and that'll be the Baltimore Orioles with Means pitching at the Boston Red Sox, Eovaldi. And I hope I didn't botch those up. I want to thank everybody who's been here and do a shout out for everybody. David, Bill Ivamy, John Wise, Mike C., Joel Horland, Rick DeBar, Perry, Kenyon Gray, Kathy Harden, Baseball Demos. The problem when I start doing this, Mike C., is I either repeat or I forget somebody, which is terrible. Spokane Steve, of course, Philip Reynolds. Merry Christmas, Philip. Cleveland baseball fan. Moss Claw, 37. And everybody else in the Strat-O-Matic community. Stay strong, stay well. I'll catch you all next time.